তিনি খুব শিগগিরই উনি চলে আসবেন আমাদের সাথে, তিনি এই সেশন শেয়ার করবেন। আমরা জানিয়েছিলাম যে আমাদের সাথে আজকের অত্যন্ত প্রেস্টিজিয়াস, অত্যন্ত আনন্দের সাথে আমরা জানাচ্ছি যে দুইজন বিদেশি মন্ত্রী আমাদের আজকে এই আলোচনায় অংশ নেবেন। তাদের একজন মন্ত্রী হচ্ছে গভর্নমেন্ট অফ শ্রীলঙ্কার, আরেকজন হচ্ছে গভর্নমেন্ট অফ পাপুয়া নিউ গিনি। তারা এই আসছে না? ওকে, আমরা অত্যন্ত আনন্দের সাথে জানাচ্ছি যে আমাদের মন্ত্রী মহোদয়গণ এবং সব অতিথিবৃন্দ তারা চলে আসছেন। আমরা কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই শুরু করব অনুষ্ঠানটি। তা আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানে আমাদের সাথে থাকবেন আমাদের দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনা ও ত্রাণ মন্ত্রী জনাব মোফাজ্জল হোসেন চৌধুরী মায়া বীর বিক্রম, এবং সেই সাথে থাকবেন আজকের এই কনফারেন্সের যিনি সর্বাধিনায়ক বলতে পারি, কনফারেন্স অর্গানাইজিং কমিটির চেয়ারম্যান জনাব শাহ কামাল, সচিব দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনা মন্ত্রণালয়। সুতরাং আমরা আশা করি যে আজকের এই সেশন সবার কাছে উপভোগ্য হবে। এবং তারপরে যেটা বলছি যে আজকের এই সেশনের পরে আমাদের সিরিজ অফ সেশন রয়েছে, 3টা রুমে 3টা প্ল্যানারি কনফারেন্স সেশন চলবে, একটা স্পেশাল ইভেন্ট চলবে। এবং এই সেশনটি চলবে হচ্ছে 9:30 থেকে 11টা পর্যন্ত। আমরা চেষ্টা করব যে এই সবের মধ্যে এই সেশনটি শেষ হবে। 11টার পরে আমরা 30 মিনিটের একটা চা বিরতি পাবো। চা বিরতির পরপরই কনকারেন্ট 13 সেশন, যেটা ইনক্লুসিভ হিউম্যানিটেরিয়ান অ্যাকশনস ইন ডিজাস্টার অ্যান্ড প্রোটেক্টেড ক্রাইসিস, সেটা 11:30 থেকে 1টা পর্যন্ত উইন্ডি টাউনে। তারপরে তার পরপরই সাথে সাথে চলবে কনকারেন্ট সেশন 14, যেটা স্টেক হোল্ডার্স ইন ইনক্লুসিভ ডিআরআর, ডিফেন্স ফোর্সেস, সিকিউরিটি ফোর্সেস, ফায়ার ব্রিগেডস, ইমার্জেন্সি সার্ভিসেস, হসপিটালস, স্কাউটস, সিপিপি ভলেন্টিয়ার্স। ভেরি অ্যাট্রাকটিভ সেশন। সবাই আমরা যারা এই দেশে আছি এবং বিদেশি যারা বন্ধুরা আছেন তারা উপভোগ করবেন যে আমাদের এখানে হিউম্যানিটেরিয়ান অ্যাকশনসে কী ধরনের সাপোর্ট সর্বমহল থেকে দেওয়া হয় তার উপরে আলোচনা করবেন আমাদের এখানে বিশিষ্ট জনেরা। তারপরে সাইমালটেনিয়াসলি কনফারেন্স সেশন 14-এ আছে, না সরি, স্পেশাল ইভেন্ট যেটা ই-লার্নিং কোর্স অন ডিসেবিলিটি অ্যান্ড ডিজাস্টার, সেটা ইউএনএসকাপ থেকে এই স্পেশাল ইভেন্টটা হবে। ই-লার্নিং কোর্স যেটা আপনি কম্পিউটারের মাধ্যমে, ইন্টারনেটের মাধ্যমে একটা কোর্সে অংশগ্রহণ করতে পারেন, এই সেশনটিতে সেই বিষয়টা বর্ণনা করা হবে। তারপরের সেশনটি সবচেয়ে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ সেশন, যে 2015 সালে আমাদের ঢাকা ডিক্লারেশন হয়েছে। এর আগে সেন্ডাই ফ্রেমওয়ার্কের আলোকে এই ডিক্লারেশনটা হয়েছে। এই ডিক্লারেশনটিতে কথা ছিল যে আগামী 2 বছর প্রত্যেকটা দেশ তাদের সাধ্যমতো তাদের অবস্থানে কিছু না কিছু একীভূত কাজ সম্পাদন করবেন ডিজাস্টার প্রিপেয়ারনেস অ্যান্ড ম্যানেজমেন্টের মধ্যে, ইনক্লুসিভ ডিজাস্টার রিস্ক ম্যানেজমেন্ট কার্যক্রমে। আজকে এইটাই আমাদের শেয়ার হবে সেখানে, যে কোন দেশ কারা কীভাবে কী করেছে। আমাদের জন্য অত্যন্ত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ শিক্ষণীয় দিক হবে এই সেশনটিতে। এটাই এই সেশনের, এই কনফারেন্সের সবশেষ প্ল্যানারি সেশন। আমরা আশা করি যে এই সেশনটিও সবার কাছে উপভোগ্য হবে। আমাদের মন্ত্রী মহোদয়রা সবাই চলে এসছেন। আমরা কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই আমাদের আনুষ্ঠানিক অনুষ্ঠান শুরু করব। অনেক ধন্যবাদ। আরেকটা ঘোষণা রয়েছে, নবীজ ভাই কি ঘোষণাটা দেবেন? সাইমালটেনিয়াস ইন্টারপ্রিটেশন।
An administrative announcement, especially for our overseas friends. Good morning. There are interpretation services. We've had it from the first day. I realized yesterday that we are not using it. If you go down to that corner, as we entered, on the right-hand side, you will find the headphones and the transmitters. So if you need the interpretation services, it's available in Bangla to English, to Spanish, and in Chinese, in different channels. It's available in every single room. So if you pick up your headphones and the transmitter, the interpreters will be following you to every single room. Thank you. And another one is, if you have not registered yet, because every single participant is expected to register themselves, if you have not registered yet, on our right-hand side, or when you're sitting on your left-hand side, there's a small door there. You just walk down the corridor to a room called Eternity, and please complete your registrations there. Thank you very much.
I sit there? Okay.
Respected guests, delegates, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, today is the third day of our conference,
Too many.
and we would like to welcome you all to our first plenary session
Morning.
today morning.
My name is Valerie.
The first plenary session, we are really glad to inform you that we have quite a good number of dignitaries with us. This session title is the progress and learning on inclusive implementation of the Sendai Framework, regional plans and Dhaka Declaration on DRM 2015 in different countries. This is a very important session today, as because when we initiated this 2.5 years before, we had the Dhaka conference, the first Dhaka conference to implement Sendai Framework. So from 2015 up to now, what was the progress has happened in many different countries? That will be discussed today. Among us, we have very dignified guests today. We have the chief guest. We all know from Bangladesh participants. Chief guest is Mr. AKM Muzammal Haq, MP, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Liberation War Affairs. He has already taken his seat. We have with us, this session was supposed to be chaired by Mr. Sabir Hussain Chaudhary, but unfortunately he is in little problem. He may join any time with us. We hope that he will be able to join with us. We have a very good attraction today, that we have two ministers from two countries. Mr. Kevin Isidro Isifu, he is the minister from Papua New Guinea. He is the minister of intergovernment relation. He is with us. He is with us. We would like to welcome our another minister. He is Mr. Palitha Rana Banara. Am I correct in pronunciation? He is the minister from government of Sri Lanka. This is what we feel really prestigious, that the two ministers are together with us. Today, we have our minister, the Minister of Disaster Management and Relief, Mr. AKM Mufajjal Hussain Maya Bir Bikram, and he is in the dais also, and he is the main backup to host this conference. And we have we are waiting for the secretary also, Secretary Ministry of Social Ministry of Disaster Management. He will be with us very soon. So I would like to introduce our session discussants. We have 3 session discussants and presenters, panelists. The first presenter is Mr. Mohsiddin MD Mohsin, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief. He is with us already. You all know. He is the member secretary of the organizing committee also of this conference. The second speaker of this session, she is quite well known to Bangladesh context, and she is all over the global context. She is contributing to include disability inclusive programs in many different aspects. She is Ms. Valerie Scherer. He is the UN Interagency Standing Committee Task Force. She is from Switzerland, sorry. And then we have another friend, Mr. Gopal Mitro, Disability Section Program Division of UNICEF, based in USA. So we have these 3 panelists and discussants today, along with other guests. We hope that the session will be really attractive and very fruitful for all of us. Thank you very much. I would like to have the permission from the chief guest to initiate the programs. I again mention the title of the session, Progresses and Learning on Inclusive Implementation of the Sendai Framework, Regional Plans, and the Dhaka Declaration on DRM 2015 in different countries. I would like to request as the first speaker, Mr. M.D. Mohsin, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief, to deliver his speech and presentation. Please.
Don't hear much what they're saying. Maybe you're using that would be
Respected Chair, Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Ministers, Speakers, dear foreign participants, local delegates, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Before going to my detailed presentation, I would like to show a small intro for you, and I think this will help you to know what Bangladesh government is doing regarding disaster and disability. With this video, I want to start with a very significant slides. If you see this graph, Bangladesh dramatically reduced the mortality from natural disaster. Around 1 million people died by Gorky cyclone in 1970. But in 2007, Mura, only 17 people died. The ratio of female and male also reduced significantly. The ratio was 14.1 in 1970 and now 2:1 in 2018. This is this result of improved early warning, accessible cyclone, shelter, dedicated CPP volunteers, as well as government others initiatives. This is a little bit of first declaration of Dhaka. By this time you know all that. It is good example of inclusion within Sendai Framework. As well as a background information, I would like to inform you that our country has initiated to implement this informed and inclusive development plan and program. Inclusion of persons with disabilities ensured in 7 5-year plans and also emphasized in National Plan for Disaster Management and as well as SDGs. Sendai Framework on DRR was adopted in 2015. It included a very critical point as gender, age and disability, and practice to build their resilience disaster. In along with the Sendai Framework, government hosted first international conference on disability and disaster in 2015. Now I want to mention what was inside in the Dhaka Declaration of 2015. The target was all level of disaster risk management committees should have gender sensitive representation. And you'll be very happy to know that, especially to our foreign delegates, by this time we did it. Person with disabilities included to all local disaster management committees, even national management committees. So this is a very big achievement, I can say. Another action point was develop inclusive community risk assessment and risk reduction action plan. We also did this one by this time. And strengthen government partnership. It was one of the points in 2015 declaration. And having multi-stakeholders task force meeting on inclusion of DRM by annually. And by this time you have seen that Saima Hussain was very much present with us, and she is acting as a focal point in this regard. There are some photos that the meeting held within last 3 years. This is a very important point. Integrate gender, age and disability. You have seen the slide. This is a slide of Bangladesh players. So we are going to include all the players from all levels, not only the players, from all corners, in the village to town, that by this time we have included them. And another point was promote empowerment and protection. Develop people-centered multi-hazard early warning system. By this time we already developed multi-hazard early warning system. You see, this is 1090 and this is toll-free. Anybody can call this number without any toll, and they can receive the voicemail from automated voicemail that what is the weather condition. And removal of barriers. The point was enforce accessible and resilient infrastructure, especially for the person with disabilities. And we are going to ensure this one. Just I want to show a few of the photo, then it will be easy for you to understand then what government and non-government organization is going to do for the person with disabilities. And recognition. By this time, I think you know that this is very much recognized, the first international conference. I want to show you one video that which one in Delhi Declaration,
the government of Bangladesh
Honorable Prime Minister of
launched
India Modi,
a large community-based cyclone preparedness program. It led to a significant reduction in loss of lives from cyclones. It is now recognized as a global best practice.
You see, being a Prime Minister of India, he mentioned, if you want to know, you go to Bangladesh. And it is the best practice in all over the world even regarding this one. And nomination of focal point. We are very happy and very lucky that Saima Hussain is already appointed as focal point of Bangladesh regarding the inclusive of disability and disaster risk management. And she is working hard. Last 2 days, today also she will be here for whole day. And almost twice a year, in some cases thrice a year, she is going to sit our honorable ministers and our other officials. And another new issue, that is the mental health. By this time, Ministry of Disaster Management Relief conducted training on crisis preparedness management and mental health. Many people, in case of disaster, you know, they have lot of issues, but they can express to others. To handle that issue, by this time, we trained around 100 personnel regarding this. Just I want to show you some, and we are lucky enough. One specialist from USA, and she is very renowned. She also with us as a trainer. After the Nepal plane crash, just few months back, you see what we did in the airport. Our 10 people are waiting in the airport just to counseling the person of the relatives of the victims. So this ministry is going this type of works nowadays. And here also there are some best practices. What we are doing, you see, we are going to arrange all these things. This is the boat. In case of any flood, we can use this boat to carry or to take the shelters, the disabled people. Even then people, you see, working, and we are going emphasis to them. Our unit level union porishad, this is the union porishad building, and there is a ramp system is there for the disabled personalities. Mainstreaming, this is very important. Not only this ministry is doing this one, what is doing by the other ministry. I just want to mention a couple of lines regarding this. Our local government division is very big division. There, conducts awareness building training on disability, inclusive disaster risk management. It means they are also working in this regard. National Mental Health Institute, they are also working in this regard. Health Services Division, the technical support of Susana Foundation developed country strategy and action plan for post-disaster mental health. That is one of the new issues, not even in our country, in many countries in the world. And Ministry of Women and Children Affairs, yesterday, Honorable Minister was there. And even the Health Minister, State Minister also attend in our function. Even the Coast Guard, AFD is very much involved, military, Air Force and our Navy. They are also doing some works in this regard. So just I want to mention that it's a whole of society approach from all corners, government or non-government or our development partners, all of them are working together. But there are some challenges. I just want to few challenges, and not these challenges for only our country. I think many of the countries in the world, they are facing these kind of challenges. Invisible barriers, especially the person with disabilities. There are some issues. There is invisible barriers. Limited ability of the data is very important. Though we have a database, but still we need to know, we need to collect the data correctly. What kind of disability people, where they are living. Inadequate understanding and technical skills, this is a very important issue. And fewer effort to socialization. Not widely disseminated good practices and capacity gap of the key stakeholders. And finally, not sufficient sensitization. But we are happy that, around 17 honorable ministers from our government and around 25 secretaries already going to attend in this workshop, and it will help a lot. And the way out, how can we go out to face the challenges? Integrated Dhaka Declaration into all countries related to the policy, what we are trying. And active participation in DRR, follow, leave no one behind. This is very much important that inclusive, our approach should be inclusive. And strengthening and mainstreaming the disability and capacity building and the socialization, as well as the widen the scope of national and international dialogue is very important. That is why we are going to arrange this year, this workshop in Bangladesh. Finally, I want to mention, I am very happy to say these words, Bangladesh is well ahead in implementing Sendai Framework for DRR and Dhaka Declaration 2015 in all many regards. Thank you very much for your patience hearing.
Thank you very much, Mr. MD Mohsin, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Disaster and Relief. I should recall some of his presentation. First, I would like to mention his presentation says about how much committed Bangladesh is towards implementation of Sendai Framework. And then again, he mentioned about our commitment, which has been made in 2015 through Dhaka Declaration. Bangladesh has made its commitment really to be happen in the field. In many areas, disability was a cross-cutting. Disability was absolutely isolated from disaster risk management. But since last few years, studying from the Sendai Framework, he rightly mentioned about in every sectors, disability is in process of inclusion, and that is in practices, and we hope that that will take us up to certain instance of how inclusive disaster preparedness and risk management can be happened. I would like to thank again, and our next speaker is our very good friend of Bangladesh. She's Ms. Valerie Shera. She is the task force members of UN Interagency Standing Committee Task Force, and she's from Switzerland. And we find her many times talking about Bangladesh, visiting Bangladesh. She has visited quite many rural areas of Bangladesh also. I would like to request Ms. Valerie Shera to present her paper. Thank you.
You have the power. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this plenary session. And thank you also for the government of Bangladesh to organize this second conference on disability and disaster risk management. I was asked to talk about scope and opportunity of monitoring the implementation of the Daca Declaration. And to do that, I would like to bring you back a bit into the history and into time. I think all of that comes from a number of events which helped the disability movement to bring disability within the Sendai Framework. So all of it started in 2012 during the Asian Ministerial Conference of DR. For the first time, disability was mentioned into the outcome document. And I would like to notice that one of the great moments of this meeting was the presence of Kajol Rekha to explain her history and her involvement in disaster risk management. So Bangladesh was already there back in 2012 when we were starting talking about disability in disaster risk management. That carry on forward towards the Global Platform 2013, which also acknowledge the fact that persons with disability were disproportionately affected by disaster, and that we needed to do something to include them better. And then we moved to the Sendai Framework, which is highly inclusive of persons with disability at different levels. But one of the key elements is that it recognizes persons with disability as key stakeholders in the process of implementing and defining disaster risk management. Following that, and after discussion with our friends in Bangladesh, I think there is no more power in the computer, and that's why it's shut down. Well, I'll continue, I think, unless... yes, but I can continue without that. I'll try if I can read what I have here. Sorry, so no presentation anymore. So it continues with the Dhaka Conference on Disability and Disaster Risk Reduction back in 2015 and the development of the Daca Declaration, and here we are today, moving even further. Coming back to the conference in 2015, I think there were a number of objectives behind it, which were basically to look at how we can really implement what was so inclusive into the Sendai Framework, and how we can support government and other stakeholders to take Sendai and put it into practice, but with the vision of including persons with disability. And it was also to try to inform as many stakeholders as we could about how the Sendai Framework was inclusive. So bringing organization of persons with disability, persons with disabilities and DR stakeholders together to basically look at exchanging experience, listening to challenge of persons with disability in time of disaster, and also listening to disaster risk management experts on what was their work, their constraints, and how they could include persons with disability. And with all those input, bring together that influenced the development of the Daca Declaration. And the Daca Declaration objective was really to build up a roadmap. Sorry, no power. Okay. The Daca Declaration was also to basically develop a roadmap and provide suggestions for government and other stakeholders to know how to implement and how to translate Sendai, inclusion of persons with disability, into action within their national or disaster management plan and strategy. Having said that, where we are today and what's the stake? So to prepare that presentation, I tried to review a bit where we found the Daca Declaration as it made its way towards different stakeholders, towards regional platform, towards national disaster risk management plan. And I just would like to give you a couple of snapshots. So basically, if I look at the program, I'll try to read what I have here. For the program for action for the implementation of the Sendai Framework in Africa for 2015 and 2030, that program recognized the need to have a disability perspective in disaster risk management at the regional level, but at country level. And then it also acknowledged persons with disability as a stakeholder. But it does not mention the Daca Declaration, and it doesn't bring any action or any indicators or targets related to disability. So the Daca Declaration has done some part, but we are not yet there. For the action plan for America, it mentioned the empowerment of organizations of persons with disability to participate and lead disaster risk management. But again, that's one sentence, and there is nothing beyond, which will push really for the implementation and the reporting on progress using the Daca Declaration. Moving further to the Asia document, and when I look at the Asia document, that's one of the only one who really call for implementation of the Daca Declaration. It's mentioned within the regional platform as a tool for national governments to develop their disaster risk management. So we are a step forward with the Asian document. Going to the Pacific document does not necessarily recognize Daca, and does not really acknowledge in the document disability, but refer to the Pacific Framework for the Right of Persons with Disability, in which you find out that there is a target or a goal which is related to disaster risk reduction. However, I know that the governance structure for the implementation of the regional resilience framework for Pacific include persons with disability as member of the governance structure. So they're also quite good in terms of participation of persons with disability. Having said that, having looked at the regional document, I would say that it's very difficult to have an idea of what's happening at national level, because it's very difficult to find the information. However, you heard in the previous presentation that Bangladesh has done a lot. So we have a number of examples from different countries where they've started to integrate inclusion of persons with disability within their plan. And some of them have referred and taken up actions that are mentioned into the Daca Declaration. Giving you some example, and it's not necessarily linked with Daca, but giving you some example, back in 2016, I think there were a big meeting in Ecuador organized to discuss with stakeholders working on disability and try to define an action plan or at least recommendation on how government and other stakeholders can include persons with disability in disaster risk management. In Europe, you had Latvia, who organized a workshop, also a multi-stakeholder workshop, to basically discuss what we should do and how should we address persons with disability or disaster risk management strategy, policy, and action. And those workshops really were multi-stakeholder, involving organization of persons with disability, disaster risk management stakeholders, government, and having really a multi-stakeholder approach and a collaborative approach to move ahead with the implementation of inclusion of persons with disability in disaster risk management. That's more or less all what I can say at country level, because there are, I'm sure, many information, but it will take a long time to review all the plan and to basically come out with evidence and relevant information. Therefore, I'm really looking forward to see and to listen to countries when they will present at the Global Platform 2019 and report, hopefully, against the Daca Declaration as it is requested from them from the Cancun Chair Summary Global Platform in 2017. So maybe from there we'll get more information on what's happening at country level. Now there are a number of challenges in trying to monitor the Daca Declaration and or inclusion and participation of persons with disability in disaster risk management. And some of the challenges are related to the guideline to monitor the Sendai Framework, because even though it was a participative process to develop targets and indicators, disability has not really made it strongly into the official monitoring framework for Sendai. There are suggestions or there are target and indicator which mention that it's desirable to disaggregate data by disability, but it's not at all something that it's pushed for as a systematic practice. It's, if you want, you could do it. And it also looks mainly into pre-event data, so mainly looking at what are existing in data in countries, and not necessarily looking at post-event data. I've heard that it's coming in, so I'm looking forward to have it later on in that guideline. Other challenge, I mentioned some already, is that there is little information and there is no monitoring mechanism for the Daca Declaration, knowing also that there has been up to now very few uptake or use of the action defined in the Daca Declaration within regional plan. And again, I haven't been able to look at all national plans, so maybe it has happened at that level, but I'm not in a position to find out. So I really look forward to have more information on that and to have a system in a way or a process that will enable us to review national plan and to see if, 2 minutes, to see if action has been taken in. Now opportunities. Many opportunities. If we report against the Daca, we better report against Sendai. If we collect information on disability using Daca Declaration, we can use it in reporting towards SDGs, but also towards building evidence for reporting against the CRPD. So there is a number of opportunities where you can use it. And finally, I would like to call everyone to do a lot of collaborative work to advocate further in your country, in your region, for the uptake of the Daca Declaration and the specific action that will help us to understand better how disability is included and how persons with disability participate in disaster risk management. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valerie Scherer, for her elaborate discussions on the movement, how it is spreading out towards other countries also. You have rightly mentioned about the journey from 2012, MCDRR, and then the global platform that was formed in 2013. Then you have rightly mentioned about the impact of Dhaka Declaration 2015. And what she was mentioning, that disability is coming gradually into the priority of inclusive process, and many of the countries in the world are coming up with how to include disability concerned issues in all levels of development, especially in disaster management. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to request our very good friend, Mr. Gopal Mitro. Mr. Gopal Mitro is in Disability Section, Program Divisions of UNICEF, and he's an Indian, but he's based in USA. And he has a long career of working in development fields, and now he's contributing in the field of disability inclusion. Is Mr. Mitra, please.
Thank you. Okay. Now it's okay. Thank you, Nomanda. Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Ministers, my fellow panelists, distinguished members of the audience, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all today. Let me start by expressing my sincere appreciation to the government of Bangladesh and our dear friends in the civil society for playing this valuable leadership role in the area of disaster risk management and inclusion of persons with disabilities. We really appreciate this. I work for UNICEF, and as you know, UNICEF works to advance the rights of children around the world. And as one of the most excluded groups, children with disabilities are a critical part of UNICEF's agenda. We have heard so many testimonies on how, whether it's a cyclone or a tsunami or an earthquake or a flood, how it disproportionately impacts children and adults with disabilities. Existing inequalities and disparities further heighten the adverse impact on most excluded populations, particularly persons with disabilities. Leave no one behind, we have heard, is the mantra of the SDGs. It's a very strong statement. Leave no one behind. It does not say leave almost no one behind, or perhaps leave no one behind. And we know that persons with disabilities are often the one who are left behind. So whether it's the SDGs or implementation of the Sendai Framework or any other development framework, it cannot be achieved unless people with disabilities are front and center and included fully in all these processes. With 10 years of implementation of the CRPD, we have seen increasing commitment from governments, from UN agencies, from civil society to include persons with disabilities. Having worked in this field for several years or many years now, I can say that till about 5 years back, disaster risk management or humanitarian action and persons with disabilities was not something which was generally discussed when we spoke about rights of persons with disabilities. We have seen a marked difference over the last 5 years in this area. Every success builds on the previous success and the momentum it generates. And the Sendai process and the SFDRR as well as the Dhaka Declaration created a strong momentum for what we saw at the World Humanitarian Summit in 2016. At the World Humanitarian Summit, or to the run-up to it, an informal group of stakeholders got together and drafted the Charter on the Inclusion of Persons with Disabilities in Humanitarian Action, which was launched at the World Humanitarian Summit in Turkey, Istanbul in 2016. Those of us who were there at the World Humanitarian Summit would acknowledge that never before in a mainstream event, particularly a humanitarian event, have we seen such representation and visibility of persons with disabilities and issues related to persons with disabilities. The Charter was launched with wide endorsement, and in the summit concluding remarks, the UN Secretary General referred to the Charter as a groundbreaking instrument which puts persons with disabilities at the center of humanitarian decision-making process. Following the Charter, the UN Interagency Standing Committee, which is the highest coordinating body in humanitarian action, endorsed the formation of a task team to develop global or system-wide guidelines on inclusion of persons with disabilities in humanitarian action, which we are currently in the process of developing. We feel that such global standards and guidelines will bring about significant change in the way humanitarian action is carried out. In the process of drafting, we have persons with disabilities front and center, and we cannot do more of this. It is not only at the global levels, we see progress at the country level too. I can speak on behalf of UNICEF. Our UNICEF country offices reporting work on disaster risk management and humanitarian action and inclusion of persons with disabilities in this context increased 5 times over the last 4 years. Countries like Nicaragua, Honduras, Costa Rica, Bhutan, Nepal, Philippines, and many others are taking concrete action by developing guidelines on inclusion of persons with disabilities, by incorporating protocols and standards on inclusion of persons with disabilities in existing protocols on disaster risk management, building capacities at the national level, from the grassroots, from teachers, community health workers, up to civil servants, undertaking communication campaigns to raise awareness, and so on. And more needs to be done. In the remaining 5 minutes, I would like to touch briefly on 4 areas which many others have discussed, which are critical if we want to see real inclusion of persons with disabilities in disaster risk management. The foundational aspect is the involvement of persons with disabilities. Now, who will know better about the risk you face than you yourself? So when we are talking about disaster risk and persons with disabilities, we have to proactively reach out to persons with disabilities themselves. I remember in Nepal, after the earthquake, it so happened that UNICEF Nepal had an existing partnership with NFDN, the umbrella DPO in Nepal. And so immediately after the earthquake, in the first few days, with help of NFDN and another civil society organization working on disability, we were able to identify more than 5,000 children with disabilities and later on link them to appropriate services. It would not have been possible without our partnership with NFDN. But for DPOs to engage, we must invest in their capacity. It just doesn't happen like that. We need to formulate partnerships, invest resources in persons with disabilities and DPOs. The second, as everyone, a lot of other speakers have mentioned, is the criticality of data. For people with disabilities to count, they must be counted. We need to know how many, where, what is the situation. National data systems have to be upgraded. And the best part is that now we have scientifically tested tools which are available, which can help us do that. The Washington Group set of questions, the Washington Group UNICEF Child Functioning Module, and a host of other resources. We have the 10-year census, the next round of 10-year census that countries carry out coming up over the next few years. All countries will undertake it. We urge countries to incorporate Washington Group questions into the census so that we have the data on persons with disabilities, without which we cannot take systematic action. The third is the issue of capacity. we need to invest in the capacity of frontline workers, of the middle-level officers, and the officers at the highest level. Any training on disaster risk, any general training, what we are trying to do has to incorporate a module on persons with disabilities and how to reach out to persons with disabilities, how to make DRM inclusive. Without capacity, we cannot reach far, and that is critical. And the last point is accessibility. I was often told when I talk to people in the field that, hey, it's expensive, we cannot do it. Our evidence shows that if we plan accessibility from the design stage, it just costs 1 to 3% extra. 1 to 3%, and we are able to include 15% of the population who are at the bottom. Now that's a great investment, right? We have enough barriers for people with disabilities in this world. Let us not spend a single taka or a dollar or a euro to build new barriers for people with disabilities. The journey to full participation and inclusion is a long one, ladies and gentlemen. But every step, and that includes our discussions today, every step we take towards that goal makes life for persons with disabilities a little bit better. And we hope that we can all march towards that journey holding hands, because on our own we will not be able to do much. I'll leave you there, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gopal Mitra, for your chronological development in the field of inclusion of disability issues in many sectors. I really recall one of your quote that every success is based on the previous successes, and we should say that every success even lead out of the previous failures also, if you can take the failures as the spirit of development. I thank you very much, Gopal Mitra, again. Ladies and gentlemen, you see in the dais, we have 4 ministers together. 4 ministers together. Can we give a big clap to our ministers? The ministers we have our minister, the Minister of Disaster and Relief of Bangladesh, under which leaderships we had the initiative to implement the conference. He is the advisor of the conference. We have our chief guest today, the Minister of Liberation War Affairs. We are really happy to have him as a special guest. And this is one of the very important ministries dealing with protecting the rights and privileges of our freedom fighters in the country. We have 2 ministers from overseas countries. 2 ministers from overseas countries. Honorable Palita Range Bandara, who is the State Minister, Ministry of Irrigation, Water Resources and Disaster Management, Government of Sri Lanka. He has the flight, he needs to catch the flight very shortly, so I would like to request him to deliver his speech, please.
Thank you. Honorable Chief Guest, AKM Musamil, Honorable Minister of Liberation and War Affairs, and other ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is indeed the great pleasure for me to be with you here today on the occasion of second International Conference on Disability and Disaster Risk Management, Representation, Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. I would also like to extend my sincere appreciation to the Honorable Mupassal Hussain Chaudhry Maya Biribikham, Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh for inviting to our country and organizing this conference to share in knowledge and experience which are contributed by the experts and professionals from different corners of the world regarding disability, inclusive disaster risk management. The legal definition of disability in Sri Lanka is that described in the Protection of the Right of Person with Disabilities Act number 1. A person with disability means any person who, as a result of deficiency in his physical or mental capabilities, whether congenital or not, is unable by himself to ensure for himself wholly or partly the necessities of the life. This definition is reasonably broad one, encompassing both medical and socio-economic accepted of disability. Sri Lanka has ratified and accepted national policy of disability in 2003 under Ministry of Social Welfare. National law in Sri Lanka that covered under 14 filed to protect the right of person with special needs are as follows: the rehabilitation of the visually handicapped Trust Fund at number 9 of 1992, National Institute of Social Development Act number 41, Protection of the Right of Person with Disabilities Act number 1996, Election Special Provisions Act number 28 of 2011, Civility Regulations Gazette 2006 and 2009, Welfare Benefit Act. Number 24 of 2002 and number 116, non-government organization has registered on the protection of the right of the person with the disabilities at 1996. Sri Lanka is a country facing the complex and downstream the range of the potential hazard survey. Present of the all disability disasters, they are thrown out by the weather with climate change during this tendency even higher. Many inhabitants suffer the ravages of disaster, particularly of flooding, landslides, tropical cyclone and drought. The dramatic impact of the tsunami of 26 December 2004 sounded the starting bell for a new approach to deal with natural hazard in Sri Lanka in the context of disaster risk management. According to the UNISDR survey on living with disabilities and disaster in 2013 has reported that after the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, there were many examples of the person with disabilities who were unable to escape the wave and who drowned out. In Sambo, the residential home in Gaul, Sri Lanka, only 14 of its 102 residents living with disabilities survived. Many of those who died were unable to leave their beds or failed to comprehend in time the need to escape. The damage caused by recurrent floods, landslides, terrorism, and last not least, the tsunami. In December 2004, have convinced as the society should be better prepared to cope with such disaster in the future. Therefore, the Disaster Management Act of 2005 was enacted, providing a strong legislative and international agreement for the disaster risk reduction. The Disaster Management Center has been established under the National Council for Disaster Management in accordance with the Sri Lanka Disaster Management Act number 13 of 2005 passed by the Parliament of Sri Lanka on 13th May 2005. Presently, Disaster Management Center is sponsoring within the purview of the Ministry of Disaster Management. The National Policy on Disaster Management is a complement of Sri Lanka national regime for the disaster management. It articles agreed overarching principles and prepared the outcomes for disaster management in Sri Lanka. It also provides policy directive to address the issues such as incompetent coordination among stakeholders, agencies, duplications of effective and insufficient policy directive for reduce the human and economic impact of the disaster were identified in the aftermath of 2004 tsunami and the other recent disaster situations. It's immunization protection of the children under the section of equality diversity. And inclusion as a disaster management should give special consideration to marginalized group and those with special needed or otherwise valuable including persons with disabilities, senior citizens, the sick and pregnant women, children and displaced persons. Ministry of Disaster Management in Sri Lanka has played lead role for implement Sendai Framework 2015 to 2030 with collaboration of several government, private, non-government and other relevant stakeholders agencies. Thank you very much for Honorable Minister, Disaster Management Risk. Sorry. Honorable Minister Hussein Chowdhury, inviting for Sri Lanka and participating for me. Thank you so much again. I have no time. I want to go to airport now. My flight is ready. Thank you so much for going.
No, it doesn't work. Just let me go there. Oh, it works. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister from Sri Lanka, for his elaborate speech. We know that Sri Lanka is the pioneer of many disability concerned interventions and has lots of commitments to the international treaties and international directions. I would like to thank Yeah. Thank you again, the Honorable Minister from Sri Lanka. Now, I would like to request our special guest, Honorable Minister from Papua New Guinea, Mr. Kelvin Iziro Isifo, Parliament Member. Is the Minister for the Intergovernment Relations. Respected Sir, I would like to request you to kindly deliver your speech.
Minister for Disaster Management and Relief for Bangladesh, Honorable Mofazal Asim Chowdhury, Chief Guest, AKM Mozamal, Honorable Palita Range Bandora, State Minister for Irrigation, Water Resource and Disaster. Fellow ministers and panel members, VIPs, and delegates coming from Bangladesh and abroad to attend the second international conference on disaster and risk management. I'm very honored to be given this opportunity to deliver the ministerial statement for my country, Papua New Guinea. As the minister responsible for disaster risk management for my country, I'm of the view that it is a great opportunity to come here and exchange views and share ideas and experiences on how best each of our government and ministers responsible for disaster risk management manages and implement disaster management and risk reduction plans, programs, and policies in our respective countries. This conference is also an opportunity to establish mutual relationship, to share some of those best practices and concepts to improve disaster risk management in our respective countries. Natural disasters, as you all know, have claimed more innocent lives and causing massive destruction to homes, properties, environment, social structures, and it does cripple economies and set back national development. Papua New Guinea is ranked as one of the most disaster-prone countries, along with other countries in the world, due to its unique geoclimate conditions. Apparently, disaster management and risk disaster reduction has always been a challenge in PNG due to various factors such as resources, constraints, lack of capacity at national, provincial, and local level to implement programs, and also the ability to resettling communities internally who are displaced by natural disasters more effectively and promptly. The frequency and intensity of climate hazards are increasing in PNG due to climate change. As such, the government of Papua New Guinea recognized the country's vulnerability to various types of natural hazards, and it is committed to reviewing and improving disaster risk reduction in the country, and also the new National Disaster Risk Reduction Framework will assist the government to meet its commitment and expectations. Ladies and gentlemen, our communities throughout the country are experiencing more ever disaster risk in a very profound way. The impacts of climate change, coupled with external pressures such as population expansion, are increasing the vulnerability in our communities. This also exerts significant pressure on existing structures to cope with the needs of the disaster. These challenges have propelled the government towards formulating a new disaster risk reduction framework for the country, aimed to prevent new and reduce existing disaster risks and increasing resilience through an all-society and all-hazard risk approach across economic, social, and environmental policy areas, closely in line with the intent and the spirit of the Sendai Framework. The new Papua New Guinea National Disaster Risk Reduction Framework 2017 to 2030 stems from the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2017 to 2030 and represents the international best practices in disaster risk reduction. It is also in line with the framework for resilient development in the Pacific and also the Asia-Pacific Economic Community. In terms of disability in disaster management, there are still gaps and some challenges in Papua New Guinea, despite several programs and policies being developed and implemented by the Ministry of the Community Development. To address this challenge, Papua New Guinea has adopted guiding principles of the Sendai Framework on inclusive engagement and partnership in PNG's National Disaster Risk Reduction Framework. It also requires empowerment and inclusive accessibility and non-discriminatory participation, and paying special attention to the people disproportionately affected by disasters, especially the most vulnerable. A gender, age, and disability and cultural perspective in all policies and practices, and the promotion of women and youth leadership. In this context, special attention should be paid to improvement of organized voluntary work of citizens. The issue of disability is well captured in one of the 4 key priority actions for PNG National Disaster Risk Reduction Framework of 2017 to 2030. The vulnerable groups, especially women, children, elderly, and persons living with disabilities, will be empowered to participate in and equally benefit through key priority actions, enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response and to build back better in recovery and rehabilitation and the reconstruction. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Disaster Risk Reduction Framework is also aligned with PNG's sustainable plan and will contribute to achieving the sustainable goals, development goals, and improving human development index in Papua New Guinea through the Responsible Sustainable Development Policy and the Planning Act. The framework will also contribute towards achieving relevant goals and targets of the Paris Agreement and in line with the adaptation objectives of the PNG's Climate Change Act. It will also provide a common disaster risk reduction vision, mutual understanding for different government departments and agencies, and also to promote improved communication, coordination, and cooperation in disaster risk reduction. Ladies and gentlemen, my government is fully committed towards the implementation of the National Disaster Risk Framework of 2017 to 2030 in line with commitment to the Sendai Declaration. I am excited to be here and listen to the presentations and openly share ideas and hope to further strengthen and enhance our disaster risk management and the disaster risk reduction program with some of your good practices and concepts I'm able to take back with me to PNG. On that note, also, I would like to commend the government of Bangladesh in taking the lead in setting best practices, in progressing and implementing the Sendai Framework in terms of disaster risk management. And I commend the government of Bangladesh for this wonderful progress towards disaster risk management. And with that, I thank you all for your kind attention and for hospitality for hosting me here and my delegates in your beautiful country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your elaborate speech. We know that Papua New Guinea used to participate in many different international sessions, international conventions, and raise their voice to protect the persons with disabilities, the rights of persons with disabilities in many different areas. We are really feel proud of your presence in this conference, coming from so far, having the troubles of traveling so long distance. We would like to thank you again from the conference, and I hope, and we also hope, that things are changing and whole global situation is gradually changing towards inclusion of persons with disabilities, not only in disaster, in all aspects. Thank you very much again, and now I would like to request our chief guest today, Mr. A.K.M. Muzammil Haq, Parliament Member, Ministry of Liberation War Affairs, which is for the overseas participants. I would like to share that this is a very important and prestigious ministry looking after the interest of the freedom fighters of our country. Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sendai Framework, আঞ্চলিক পরিকল্পনা এবং ঢাকা ঘোষণার অগ্রগতি ও শিক্ষণীয় বিষয়ে প্লেনারি অধিবেশনের পরম সম্মানিত সভাপতি, দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনা ও ত্রাণ মন্ত্রণালয়ের মাননীয় মন্ত্রী জনাব মুফাজ্জল হোসেন চৌধুরী মায়াবীর বিক্রম এমপি, পাপুয়া নিউ গিনি সরকারের ইন্টার গভর্নমেন্টাল রিলেশনস মন্ত্রণালয়ের মাননীয় মন্ত্রী কেবিন ইজেরু ইসিফু এমপি, এবং একটু আগে কথা বলে চলে গেলেন বিমান দলের জন্য শ্রীলঙ্কা সরকারের ইরিগেশন, ওয়াটার রিসোর্স অ্যান্ড ডিজাস্টার ম্যানেজমেন্ট মন্ত্রণালয়ের মাননীয় প্রতিমন্ত্রী জনাব পালিথা রাঙ্গে বান্দ্রা এমপি, সম্মানিত আলোচকবৃন্দ, ডেলিগেটস, বিদেশি অতিথিবৃন্দ, অংশগ্রহণকারী বৃন্দ, প্রিন্ট ও ইলেকট্রনিক মিডিয়ার সাংবাদিক বৃন্দ, ভদ্র মহিলা ও ভদ্র মহোদয়গণ, আসসালামু আলাইকুম এবং শুভ সকাল। মহান মুক্তিযুদ্ধের মাধ্যমে জাতির অর্জিত স্বাধীন বাংলাদেশের জনসাধারণ ঐতিহাসিকভাবে দুর্যোগ মোকাবেলা করে আসছে। আমাদের জাতির জনক বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিবুর রহমান 1973 সালে সাইক্লোন প্রস্তুতি কর্মসূচি শুরু করেছিলেন, যা ছিল বিশ্বব্যাপী জনসম্পৃক্ত দুর্যোগ প্রস্তুতি কর্মসূচির মধ্যে প্রথম উদ্যোগ। দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকি ব্যবস্থাপনায় এই কর্মসূচির উত্তম চর্চা হিসাবে স্বীকৃতি পেয়েছে। দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনায় বাংলাদেশের মাননীয় প্রধানমন্ত্রী দেশরত্ন শেখ হাসিনার নেতৃত্বে সুদৃঢ় অবস্থানে আমরা দাঁড়াতে পেরেছি। জলবায়ু পরিবর্তন ও দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকি বিবেচনায় দুর্যোগ পরবর্তী ত্রাণ কার্যক্রমের পরিবর্তে আমরা টেকসই দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনা নীতি গ্রহণ করেছি। এই পরিবর্তন আমাদেরকে সেন্দাই ফ্রেমওয়ার্ক, টেকসই উন্নয়ন লক্ষ্যমাত্রা এবং জলবায়ু পরিবর্তনে প্যারিস চুক্তি 2015-এর মতো আন্তর্জাতিক নীতি কাঠামোর সঙ্গে খাপ খাওয়াতে সহায়তা করছে। উন্নয়নকে টেকসই করা এবং কার্যকরভাবে দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকি মোকাবেলায় আমাদের আঞ্চলিক ও আন্তর্জাতিক পর্যায়ে তথ্য আদান প্রদান, প্রযুক্তি বিনিময় ও সংলাপ অব্যাহত রাখতে হবে। এক্ষেত্রে উন্নয়ন পরিকল্পনায় দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকি প্রতিবন্ধিতা অন্তর্ভুক্তি সহ জেন্ডার সেন্সিটিভ বিষয়কে অধিকতর গুরুত্ব প্রদান করতে হবে। বিশ্বব্যাপী দুর্যোগের তীব্রতা ও সংখ্যা দিন দিন বৃদ্ধি পাচ্ছে। দুর্যোগের প্রভাব সবার উপর সমভাবে প্রযোজ্য হয় না। উপরন্তু প্রতিবন্ধীগণ সবচেয়ে বিপদাপন্ন অবস্থার মধ্যে থাকে। দুর্যোগ সহনশীল জাতি গঠনে দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকি ব্যবস্থাপনা কার্যক্রম প্রতিবন্ধীদের অন্তর্ভুক্ত করা প্রয়োজন। সে কারণে এর সম্মেলন এবং দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকি ব্যবস্থাপনায় প্রতিবন্ধী ব্যক্তিদের সংযুক্ত করার এই আন্তর্জাতিক উদ্যোগ খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। আন্তর্জাতিক, আঞ্চলিক, জাতীয় এবং স্থানীয় পর্যায়ে সে লক্ষ্য বাস্তবায়নে আন্তর্জাতিক কমিউনিটির সঙ্গে বাংলাদেশ যে অগ্রণী ভূমিকা নিচ্ছে তা অন্তর্ভুক্তিমূলক সমাজ বিনির্মাণে খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ এবং উল্লেখযোগ্য অবদান রাখবে বলে আমি দৃঢ়ভাবে বিশ্বাস করি। প্রতিবন্ধিতাকে অগ্রাধিকার দিয়ে বাংলাদেশের অন্তর্ভুক্তিমূলক এবং ব্যাপক ভিত্তিক সামাজিক নিরাপত্তা কর্মসূচি পরিচালনা করছে। বাংলাদেশের মুক্তিযুদ্ধ বিষয়ক মন্ত্রণালয় সহ অন্যান্য মন্ত্রণালয় প্রতিবন্ধী ব্যক্তিদের সামাজিক নিরাপত্তা সহায়তা দিয়ে যাচ্ছে, যা দুর্যোগ সহনশীলতা আনয়নে সহায়তা করছে। সম্মেলনে বিভিন্ন ধরনের অধিবেশনের আয়োজন করা হয়েছে। আজকের এই অধিবেশনে সেন্দাই ফ্রেমওয়ার্ক ও ঢাকা ঘোষণার অগ্রগতি ও শিক্ষণীয় বিষয় আলোচনার মাধ্যমে পৃথিবীর বিভিন্ন দেশের প্রতিবন্ধিতা অন্তর্ভুক্তিমূলক কার্যক্রম সম্পর্কে অবহিত করা সহ অভিজ্ঞতা বিনিময়ের সুযোগ করে দিচ্ছে। বাংলাদেশ ঝুঁকি ব্যবস্থাপনা এবং সারাদান কৌশলে প্রতিবন্ধিতা বিষয়কে অন্তর্ভুক্তির জন্য বিভিন্ন দেশের সঙ্গে সমন্বিত উদ্যোগের মাধ্যমে দুর্যোগ বিষয়ক বৈশ্বিক প্ল্যাটফর্মে প্রচার কার্যক্রম চালিয়ে যাচ্ছে। অধিবেশনে দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনা ও ত্রাণ বিষয়ের অতিরিক্ত সচিব জনাব মোহাম্মদ মহসিন তার উপস্থাপনায় ঢাকা ঘোষণার অগ্রগতি ও পরবর্তী করণীয় বিষয়ে তুলে ধরছেন। এর মধ্যে উল্লেখযোগ্য হচ্ছে প্রতিবন্ধিতা ও দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকিকে মূল ধারায় সম্পৃক্তকরণ, কাউকে বাদ দিয়ে নয়, এ নীতি অনুসরণ করে রেজিলিয়েন্ট ও টেকসই উন্নয়ন অর্জনের কর্মপন্থা গ্রহণ। আইএএসসি টাস্ক টিমের প্রতিনিধি মিস বেলেরিস সারারের ঢাকা ঘোষণার মনিটরিংয়ের ক্ষেত্রে ও সুযোগ সম্পর্কে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ উপস্থাপনা প্রদান করেছেন। এটি সেন্দাই ফ্রেমওয়ার্ক মনিটরিং ও প্রতিবেদন প্রণয়নের সহায়তা করবে। অধিবেশনের আলোচক ইউনিসেফের প্রতিনিধি গোপাল মিত্র প্রতিবন্ধিতা অন্তর্ভুক্তিমূলক তথ্যবহুল আলোচনা করেছেন, যেগুলো ঢাকা ঘোষণা সহ সেন্দাই ফ্রেমওয়ার্ক মনিটরিংয়ে ভূমিকা রাখবে। প্রতিবন্ধীদের উন্নয়ন এবং তাদের দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকি হ্রাসে ভূমিকা রাখায় বিশ্ব স্বাস্থ্য সংস্থার দক্ষিণ পূর্ব এশিয়া অঞ্চলের গুডউইল অ্যাম্বাসেডর এবং প্রতিবন্ধিতা অন্তর্ভুক্তিমূলক দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনা বিষয়ক অ্যাডভাইজারি গ্রুপের আন্তর্জাতিক ফোকাল পয়েন্ট সাইমা হোসেন বিশ্বব্যাপী প্রশংসিত হয়েছেন এবং বাংলাদেশের মুখ উজ্জ্বল করেছেন। তারই পরামর্শে এ সম্মেলন অনুষ্ঠিত হওয়ায় আমি তাকে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি। আমি আশা করি এই অধিবেশন থেকে অর্জিত ধ্যান ধারণা ও শিক্ষা ভবিষ্যৎ প্রতিবন্ধিতা ও অন্তর্বর্তীমূলক দুর্যোগ ঝুঁকি ব্যবস্থাপনা কার্যক্রম আরও জোরদার করতে সহায়তা করবে। এবং আজকের এই অধিবেশনের সম্মানিত সভাপতি মাননীয় মন্ত্রী জনাব মোফাজ্জল চৌধুরী মায়া বীর বিক্রম এমপি, তিনিও তার উদ্যোগে এই মন্ত্রণালয়ে যে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ অবদান রেখে আসছে সেই জন্য তাকে আমি বিশেষভাবে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি। My heartfelt thanks to delegates, officials and participants from abroad for their kind presence and contribution to the different session, as well as make the conference a success. I wish you all a very enjoyable stay in Bangladesh. দ্বিতীয়বারের মতো এই সম্মেলন আয়োজনের মাধ্যমে এই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ বিষয়টিকে বৈশ্বিক এজেন্ডা হিসেবে নিয়ে আসা এবং আমাকে এই সম্মেলনে আমন্ত্রণ জানানোর জন্য আমি দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনা এবং ত্রাণ মন্ত্রণালয়ের প্রতি আন্তরিক কৃতজ্ঞতা জানাচ্ছি। সকলকে ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে আমার বক্তব্য শেষ করছি। জয় বাংলা, জয় বঙ্গবন্ধু, বাংলাদেশ চিরজীবী হোক।
মাননীয় মন্ত্রী, আজকের প্রধান অতিথি, আপনাকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ আমাদের সবার পক্ষ থেকে। আপনি মুক্তিযোদ্ধাদের স্বার্থ রক্ষার জন্য আপনি সর্বদাই সক্রিয়। আমরা আশা করব একইভাবে বাংলাদেশের প্রতিবন্ধী মানুষের স্বার্থ রক্ষার আপনার অবদান চলমান থাকবে এবং আপনার সহযোগিতা অব্যাহত থাকবে। Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost close to the session. I would like to thank all the guests, our chief guest, our 4 ministers who are with us, our speakers, 3 speakers who presented and shared their experiences and knowledge based on Dhaka Declaration and Sendai Framework. We are really happy that our minister Mr. Mufazil Hossain Chaudhary Mayabir Bikram. He was in the whole session, he was sitting with us. We would like to thank him with a big clap for his. So now the press briefing. Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, and I would like to conclude this session with some information of our upcoming sessions in this conference. আমি একটু বাংলায় আবারও সবার জন্য বলি। আমি সবাইকে আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ দিয়ে আজকে এই অনুষ্ঠানটির সমাপনী ঘোষণা করতে চাই। তার আগে এই কনফারেন্স সংক্রান্ত কিছু ইনফরমেশন শেয়ার করব। এখন থেকে 11:30 পর্যন্ত টি ব্রেক চলবে। তারপরে পরপর আমাদের 3টা কনকারেন্ট সেশন চলবে। সেটার একটা হচ্ছে উইন্ডি টাউনে কনকারেন্ট সেশন 13, যেটা হচ্ছে ইনক্লুসিভ হিউম্যানিটেরিয়ান অ্যাকশন ইন ডিজাস্টার অ্যান্ড প্রটেক্টেড ক্রাইসিস। নেক্সট কনকারেন্ট 14 চলবে হারমোনি হলে, সেটাও 11:30 থেকে 1টা পর্যন্ত। সেটা হবে স্টেক হোল্ডার্স ইন ইনক্লুসিভ ডিআরআর। তারপরের আরেকটা যেটা স্পেশাল সেশন, স্পেশাল ইভেন্ট 3, ই লার্নিং কোর্স অন ডিসেবিলিটি ইনক্লুসিভ ডিআরআর, সেটা হবে মিডিয়া বাজারে। এবং এই সবকটি সেশনই আমার 1টার মধ্যে শেষ হবে। 1টার পরে খাবার বিরতি এবং পরবর্তী সেশন 2টার সময়, যেটা ফিউচার প্ল্যানস ওয়ে টু গো। আমরা সবাইকে এই আগামী সেশনগুলোতে আগমন জানিয়ে আজকে যারা এখানে অনুষ্ঠানে ছিলেন, মাননীয় প্রধান অতিথি, মাননীয় মন্ত্রী মহোদয়, উপস্থিত সবাইকে আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে সবার সমাপ্তি ঘোষণা করছি। ধন্যবাদ।
One announcement.